Never more than 12. That's the Goosebumps line at the end where
Never more than 12.
Andy Serkis, Kino Loy is in.
Absolutely.
He's in with the boys.
Never more than 12.
Never more
Welcome
than
back to
12.
the Star Wars Guys show, podcast, event
Whatever.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are your hosts, Mike,
Hello there.
Nate,
Hello there.
and you know him well.
Uncle.
Oh,
Uncle.
we
And he
are-
also says hello there.
Hello there. Hello there. We are the Star Wars Guys. We're going to talk Andor today, and we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to give you a 30-minute Andor review. We're going to talk about our overall impressions, and we're going to look at some of the storylines that we like a lot, different characters, and then we're going to make predictions. And we are 30 minutes in and out. Then we're going to talk about Tales of the Jedi for a little bit.
Yes,
we're going to
we
talk
are.
about some new
Yeah.
Star Wars movie news that Mike has teased us, but didn't tell us what it is.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
We're going to see it.
I'm just
It's gonna be
excited. Our overall impressions. So you're going to do Matthew McConaughey. You're going to do
Overall
Sylvester
impressions.
Stallone.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes, he's going to do it. Well, all right. See, he set him up for Matthew McConaughey, but I just stole Matthew McConaughey, and now this podcast is off the rails. I don't know. And back to Star Wars.
time.
And there we go.
We're off. All right.
All right. I love it. Nate, how you doing? I just felt like you
Doing
looked
all right.
How you doing?
Doing all right.
What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
What are we talking
Strange.
about?
This is great.
Yeah. But like Uncle said, we're going to do some Andor, Tales of the Jedi, and talk some Star Wars news. So
News.
Wait, later. Later.
All right,
Andor.
let's dive into it. Andor, overall thoughts.
How about overall thoughts? Sorry.
Overall.
Should I go first?
Yeah. Go.
Oh.
I'm looking at you, which
I-
means yes.
Sounds good.
Really enjoyed this episode. I loved this episode.
Really?
I thought
I'm just kidding.
Ooh, hot take. Right there.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Uncle
I-
said we need more hot takes, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
everything's
this
bad.
I'm gonna fight now.
this was an episode that I think we felt coming as far as it's been as soon as Cassian got sentenced to 6 years, we go, okay, well, he's not serving 6 years
Yeah.
just because we know what happens in his life.
Right.
He's not even around 6 years from
No.
now. Just about.
Yeah.
it's
But
close.
he
Yeesh,
gets in the
too
prison, and we're wondering, when are they? We talked about last podcast. They got to break out, right? They have to have some sort of uprising or some sort of rebellion.
And now we know they're not going to let him out.
But now this episode
Yeah.
overall thoughts, love it. Love everything that's going on in the prison. That makes it sound a little.
Love it.
I love what's going on in the prison.
The hatred.
love
the
the
death,
abuse,
favorite
the
part of this
pain,
show.
Oh,
torture.
fry 'em. No. It is it's interesting to say like you love an episode of this show when it is a cold show. It is intentionally brutal. This episode especially was really brutal, but there was so much character development as far as Cassian coming along to finally he's kind of been in like a step behind or in the background of like, wait, I don't want to be a part of the rebellion, this, and now he's the one going, come on, wake up, like we're not getting out. He's trying to get Kino Loy, Andy Serkis involved. He's trying to get all this stuff going,
Yeah.
and then obviously we'll hit on Cyril Karn, who I now call Serial Karn.
Yeah,
He just
Serial
eats
Karn.
cereal, which we'll talk about that a little
That's
bit later.
literally all.
But
he's
also
eating.
Dedra, I always
Oh,
forget how they
man.
pronounce it.
Yeah.
What an episode for her.
I know.
Because it definitely made it clear whether or not she's a good guy or a bad guy.
She's
which-
good, right?
Coming
she's
up.
great.
She's
yeah,
awesome.
Nate, overall thoughts. I loved it. What do you
Look
think?
at that
I loved it. I do think. What was this? Is this the third of this?
guy. Yeah.
It seems like they're building up to next episode
Ooh,
too.
I know it.
So I don't
Yeah.
know if this follows the 3-episode arc.
Doesn't
So-
it
feel
feels
it.
like it's
Well, what I had heard, someone talk about this because I thought the same thing of like, oh, this was episode 9. Usually it's been 3. Apparently, in one of the interviews that Tony Gilroy, creator of the show, said, I think he said in an interview was 3 is an arc, like 1 through 3 is an arc, 4 through 6 is an arc. Then we need a transition episode. And then there's an
Got it.
episode that's kind of setting the
Uh.
stage or what's coming next, and then the next 3 is
It's
an arc.
after the eye. They're going to moving him back to,
Yeah,
Sure.
so you had kind of the aftermath of After the
Yeah.
Eye, and then you've
And then
got
you've
so
got-
essentially
then you
next
have all the
episode
prison-
would
all
be
the
the big
prison stuff.
climax of story arc number 3,
Yeah.
and then 2 episodes to tell the final 4th story arc. So
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing when I was watching it. I was
yeah,
like, ooh,
Got to break out. It's the
Yeah.
third one.
yeah. Because I thought I saw that going around too on social media. But I mean, obviously I loved the details. I love the conversations, the characters. Some buying into just.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, the moment they're doubling or adding time to anybody's sentence, your first thought is that no one's getting out.
That's
of
right.
here. But obviously, the people in there are going to be optimistic, try and do what they can to get out. They don't want to think that that's actually a reality.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're all realizing that's the reality. Is no
Yeah.
one's getting out.
You
And
just
that
get
news is
moved.
getting around. Yeah, you just get moved. You get moved to a different section.
Mm-hmm.
Or a different level, I guess.
Right.
But no, I mean, overall thoughts, loved it. It definitely felt like
Gosh.
they dove into these different characters, but obviously at the same time really building up to the next episode, I would assume, as a prison break.
I loved it too. I can't believe that it feels like when I think back that so little happened, but I can't stop watching it. It's
The
like,
tension of the show.
like it's not we're not
It's so tense.
nothing blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing blew up. There were no chases, nothing like that.
The way the show builds
It's
tension.
just-
It really is.
kinda-
It's the
it's-
dialogue.
It's so cool. And each
It is.
individual character on their path. I'm amazed if they can keep me focused. Eli was watching it with me.
Yeah.
There's one part where I got nervous. I was like, I don't know if you can watch this with Bix. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
what's
I
coming.
know.
So
I was
tense.
scared.
Very Star Wars like the way they did it. And I'm also amazed that they get me cheering for the Empire. Like, come on, Dedra. Come on, rally the troops. They will believe you. Don't give up. It's crazy.
It
Got
is.
me
At
Yeah.
the same
rooting
time, I'm
for the
like
Empire.
hoping that is able to rise up, but she's like so evil.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's so weird.
And then
So-
you throw Karn, and then you throw Serial
Oh,
Karn in the mix.
That
Yeah,
guy,
see,
I
you're
can't
like-
figure that guy
Okay,
out.
And
yeah.
then you're like, okay.
All right, so let's talk
now
about
I'm
some
rooting
of the-
for her even
Let's
more.
talk.
So
Yeah.
about some of the character storylines. Let's go with Cyril. Let's
Okay.
see. What do you
So,
guys?
Cyril Karn,
This
I
dude
will
just
say.
he just rubs me
I
the wrong
know.
way.
Oh, well, more than that. I really got like.
he's like cringy.
Well, he to me,
Stalker
cringy.
cringy.
he was
Yeah.
he was absolutely gave off stalker. I mean, not to go like too real world, but like stalker, like serial killer vibes of like someone he's
He
becoming mentally
is.
deranged. He's looking for his identity and his worth in all these different people.
Yeah.
The way he grabs Deidre's arm as she's walking by, and he's like, I'm looking to his eyes. I'm like, this guy. He looks like honestly, it's like
He's a psycho.
Joaquin
it also
Phoenix
felt.
loner
He
psycho.
is
Exactly.
He is.
I was
It
gonna
is
say-
very Jokerish.
I was gonna say, what's funny is Joaquin Phoenix Joker and Joaquin Phoenix a little bit of like Joaquin Phoenix like even like Commodus in Gladiator too. Of like
Yeah.
because there was always like a softness in the way he was in Gladiator
True.
too.
Yeah.
That was a soft creepy. That was like
That's right.
I feel like I'm gonna be like assaulted by this guy just being around him. Like there's
Yeah.
something about it. It's so that
Yeah.
part was so cringy the way he is. But then what's so interesting is the way that the way they have you get attached to some characters and like empathize or sympathize or whatever, one of those things,
Yeah.
with some of the characters, and then they flip it on you. So in all the episodes leading up to this, I think we've all been like, it's interesting because I'm kind of rooting for Deidre to rally the troops, and
Right.
like, I don't want them to stop the rebellion, but like it's also like you guys aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
She's trying to
I
help
know.
you, and we're like maybe she's not all
In a way,
bad.
she's given more credibility to the rebellion, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, no,
she's
they're
saying
real.
that they're
We're
real.
like,
They're
they
bigger
are.
threats.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have
So
in
it's like
this
you
episode,
recognize that they're actually pretty good. So I like that about you.
I do like that.
Yeah. So in this episode, we have coming into it. That's our feelings about her
Yeah.
so far,
Yep.
and we don't like Karn.
Yeah.
They have all of these different scenes in the imagery and like him eating cereal. And his mom. The reason I get on the cereal thing, while it's kind of funny that he's always eating cereal, it is
cereal.
first of all Uncle Harlow always finishes his
He
milk.
always
Uh,
drinks his blue milk with his cereal.
He's painted as a cereal lover myself. I don't sit around with my mom hovering over me 24/7, telling me to straighten my collar and all this stuff.
The podcast with blue milk. And
But it's so
blue
interesting
cereal.
that I think they're doing that because he is like
Cyril.
it is definitely supposed to portray him as like underdeveloped as a child. He's
Very
still
much
finding
so.
his identity.
is.
He's eating his cereal. His mom's talking to him about, you just need to do this, and he's like, "Ugh, you went through my stuff. It's called cleaning your room. Like it's this whole thing where
intentionally,
you
like,
actually kind of feel bad.
it's
like that
belittling
she's-
him
She's
intentionally,
controlling
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
She's controlling him. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to People comment on my wardrobe because I'm trying to have an identity of my own, and I get commented for that. I'm trying to do all this stuff. He's obviously gone through a lot of things, and so he wants his revenge on Andor. But then then we see what's going on with Deidre, and it's the most vicious we've ever seen her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when they meet though at the end, then it almost flips again. We're like, this episode, I'm like, wow, Deidre, you're ruthless, you're bad.
Yep.
And then you see him get all stalkery and weird with her, and then you're like, get your hands off of Deidre.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Get out of here. Like, and then I'm like, Deidre, get out
and
of
then
here.
she chooses not to
Get away from
be.
him.
It's just
She
interesting.
could be very.
When he's like, I walk by here a lot just in case I see you. I'm like, okay.
yeah, this.
All
guy,
right, buddy.
This
So
guy,
is he
get away.
attracted to her, or is he attracted to the power?
I think
I
and
don't
he's
know.
so
That's the
I
thing.
think it could be both.
I think it is
I
a little
think
bit
it
of
could
both.
be both, but part of me is leaning more towards just the idea of just Andor, the power.
Yeah, maybe.
He's so obsessed.
He
with
wants to
just
get
like,
back in.
But I
Yeah.
think the fact
Gotta
that
get
he
back
like
in.
grabbed her arm, they leaned in on that, like, and showed that shot too
Yeah.
of like,
Yep.
he's like, I'm just looking for you. Like, it definitely was
It is,
stalkery.
dude. Yeah,
For
the
sure.
dude's creep. Kirk S in the chat says, yes, Sorrell's lost it big time. Yeah, he has. he has.
That's what he's eating.
W501
Cocoa
says,
Puffs.
Over Cocoa Puffs.
R.I.P. random background character, old guy. Yeah.
Oh, as soon as
Yeah.
they showed him,
Yeah.
Poor
and he was
guy.
falling apart
Poor
early
guy.
on. I thought he was going to get in a bad accident or something with
Yeah,
the machines.
for sure. Oh,
Oh.
yeah, I did too.
I didn't call stroke,
That is.
No.
but I
that
thought he was
is-
coming.
Anytime you got a prison segment, you gotta have the rebel, you gotta have
Yep.
the unknown, you gotta have the old man. They're always in there.
Yep.
He usually
Yep.
gets his hand cut off or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's specifically what I was afraid was going
Right,
to happen.
I know.
Was the hand,
Drop
when they
some
kept
on
showing his
him.
hands, I'm like, poor guy's going to lose
Don't
his
drag him
hands
down.
brutally on
Right.
Disney
Yeah.
Plus. They're going to show
Brutally on
his
Disney
hands
Plus.
sliced off.
And
gonna
then
be
Kirk
awful.
says, also R.I.P. Rebel pilot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we might get a glimpse there.
I know. That was interesting from that
But when I
perspective.
said
of-
Star Destroyer, I thought, what are we gonna see?
Yeah.
we always see things from the Rebels' perspective.
Mhm.
It's interesting to be in the planning room. Another moment of we're
We
like,
don't see
wow,
that.
Deidre doesn't hesitate to say, we should kill him and we'll frame it like this. I'm like,
Oh, it's
well, you're just
beautiful.
one of, you're just
Yeah,
one of
no.
you're, I mean, not that we ever thought she was
Get
anything
on it.
other than
And they're
Empire,
just like,
but
yep,
she's
get on it. Do it.
Yep.
Wow.
Awesome.
It's just so
it's
crazy.
something.
Awesome.
We'll frame it. Yeah, it's just insane. There'll be no trace.
Yeah.
None.
It is,
Deidre's
Yeah,
driving
no.
this thing. What about
It's brutal.
what about Bix?
oh, man.
Bix?
I mean,
what a
that's still in
sci-fi.
Deidre's, that's still in her
So
I-
talking about,
her
oh,
line
go.
there.
You want to go on Bix
I was-
first?
That
yeah, I was just
storyline
gonna
with
say-
the torture and everything.
I mean,
What
the
an
show is
interesting
already
torture
darker.
device.
Oh my god.
Darker for Star Wars, the show is, but then you
Oh,
have
for sure.
this whole segment of the scream. Honestly, that alone of zooming in on her face and just the vein popping out of her forehead and
Yeah.
just like building up to what is actually going to feel like with the torture helmet on, and then she just belts out.
And they don't show you anything.
And they don't show it, but you just hear it, and then it cuts to the drill. And
Yeah,
you're
they're
like,
like,
oh my gosh! Yeah.
Well, that cut from that scene was the same as episode 4.
Yeah.
Remember that cut?
yeah,
Yep.
Went
Yeah.
And then the slam shut, the cut to
It
the
is
boots walking.
yeah.
Oh, that's a great homage
Yeah.
too.
Gosh.
So the
That's true.
Bix character is a Leia-esque
Yep.
character.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's being held prisoner, has information, won't give it up. But what they didn't show made it so great, and the fact that the doctor is so nice, it just makes the whole thing worse.
Nice, but also like, again, typical like creepy scientist doctors.
Oh, yeah.
Nice, but also just like creating a terrible machine.
Oh,
to
he's
put
so
on you.
happy about it.
Like,
He's like-
he loves
He
it.
doesn't even he doesn't
he's
even
a
like
mad scientist.
register.
Yeah.
He's just so
He's like,
friendly.
and this particular strain, we believe, is actually focused on the screams of alien children.
of children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lean your head back.
Makes it
You're
worse.
like-
It's
you're
just like
"Whoa,
this guy,
whoa." Yeah, that's
Let us know
like this
if
glee
not
of like him just doing his job.
awful.
But it's like that was an interesting.
It's
So
so
this
crazy.
whole show we talked about last podcast episode, the THX 1138
yeah,
vibe of the pristine white.
right.
This is
Oh, yeah.
easily, in my opinion, the most sci-fi Star Wars we've ever gotten. Because meaning Star Wars is usually a blend of the fantasy and the sci-fi, where it's this interesting mix where you're like, it's not just sci-fi,
Right.
and it's not just, but when you kind of pull away, there's not a lot of mention of the Force. There's not, mention of
Yeah, not as
lightsabers, but
much
there's also
fantasy.
not even a ton of creatures. We don't see a Chewbacca We don't see a walking carpet.
Yeah, we saw a
Right,
couple
right,
on the
We saw early
original
on.
planet. Where
Early on.
where was the shootout?
on Ferrex.
On Ferrex.
Yeah.
We
On
saw
Ferrex.
then.
The giant dude on Ferrex.
But like in the prison,
Yeah.
in the prison, it feels very real
Oh, yeah.
world. And so because of that, it does feel like you're watching a sci-fi movie. Like it also gives me like Alien vibes,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Of like this
Stuck on a ship.
oppressive, like
Stuck on a ship.
stuck on a ship. It's definitely sci-fi horror vibes
Yeah.
almost with
Under the ocean.
everything that's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tubes where at any minute
No
if it
escapes.
breaks, the lights
Yeah,
go dim.
exactly.
They're getting words that they just wiped out. And the big thing, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff to talk about in the episode, but how about the reveal of when they're talking about what's happening and the words are traveling through everyone and there's chaos, and that's when Kino Loy, when Andy Serkis immediately has a tone switch of like, no, what did, and then he asks, what happened on 2?
What
And
happened
then he
on
tells
level
him
2?
what happened on level 2. And you're like, well, it's which like essentially all this time that they've been saying they've been releasing you. We've been putting them to a different place.
Yeah.
You take care of them, you kill them, and then word never gets out though. They replaced some of the people that had heard what had happened. They replaced them back in a group that then spread the word, and now everyone knows that that's what the plan has been all along. Is that you're not getting out of here. We're actually just trying to move you out of the way so that everyone thinks you got off, and then we go take care of you, and no one ever. Everyone just none the wiser. And then when they found out,
they killed everybody in that thing to try and
they're like kill like 100 people at once.
Stop the spread of the word getting out. So they just killed everybody because they figured they all knew.
Yep.
But by that time, they're all doing their signals, and every level's now
They're all
hearing.
talking now.
Man,
You're not going to squash them all.
did you guys
Man.
have any particular favorite moments of the episode? It's interesting to be like, my favorite moment is when the old man has a stroke. No, like there's not a ton of like, there's not a ton of fist pumping moments other than maybe like when Kino Loy finally at his last line.
Yeah.
You're like, he's in. They got him to.
We've said.
join,
I've said this before, and my favorite breakout character is Mon Mothma.
Oh my
So we
gosh.
didn't get to this connection between my cousin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Did
what?
not see that
So
coming at all.
Val is in the whole. She's in the whole
Oh, yeah.
upper echelon, wealthy Coruscant society.
Yes.
So who's giving up more? I mean, Val's giving up.
My first
a lot.
thought.
That's
Yeah.
how she knows.
And that's
Luthen.
why
That's the
Cinta
connection.
said. That's why Cinta said to her, "Rich girl running away from her."
Bingo.
But we
Yeah.
had I never thought
Like,
rich
what?
girl Coruscant related to Mon Mothma.
No.
You never
no,
piece
no.
that together. And then Mon Mothma in this episode says, "How about you just be a privileged, like rich, high society girl for
Live
a
your
while?
normal life.
Right.
Yeah.
Like basically, lay low, do all this."
Yeah.
It's interesting trying to piece together who knows what, because she asks about Luthen, but she doesn't call him by name.
And she doesn't
She
even
said-
tell him all.
she said, "What is he
doesn't
having
tell
you
Mon
doing?"
Mothma all the details either.
No, because she said, "What is he
Yeah.
having you doing?" Who? She's like, "Was who having me do?" And then they just move on from the conversation. They don't even continue pressing on it. But
Because they're not supposed to cross. I don't think you're supposed to cross that.
no.
Yeah. And then I did like that she said you swore an oath.
Mhm.
It's like, what does that mean? Like, I get that you're
I
part
did
of the
not see that
cause, but
coming.
what is this? Like, how
Telling you,
far
my
does this
favorite-
go?
Mon Mothma is my favorite character.
She's
Just
so
the
good.
way she carries the insults, internalizes them, switches them, and then moves on.
Even the
It's
looks.
so perfect.
When she's there at the
exactly
dinner table
right.
talking, and then she looks at her once, like, "What are you trying to say?" And then she says something else, and then she smiles.
She
and
gets
then
it
she's
right.
Like, she's just
Totally
observing
control.
everything. Yeah.
Speaking in the Senate when they're shutting their lights
Oh,
off,
gosh,
clearly
that
people
scene.
do not.
That scene,
don't
people are just
care.
they're not listening to her at all.
And we can
No.
see, we see the trajectory of Andor going to escape. We can also see the trajectory speeding towards Mon Mothma's discovery.
Yeah.
oh
It's
yeah.
coming. Now
Because
she's
he
moving
says,
into with a gangster,
Yeah.
clearly a crime lord of some kind.
That
Yeah.
is
She's
gonna
going to be
interesting.
moving into
That's a
that
big
world.
Yeah.
And what's her friend's
So-
name?
Oh, the other senator
wealthy-
or the
yeah.
other.
He tells her
Right.
you don't
politician.
have like how much time. He's like, your days are numbered. Like
Yeah.
essentially, as far as before
Well,
it comes
as
out,
soon
because
as they
they
check.
are.
They're
He's
gonna
like,
come
well, we
out.
have to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
this. He's like, yeah, unless they look into my finances, which is going to happen.
And they're
He's like,
already
Yeah.
they're already preventing her from moving money, so they're suspicious.
yeah. So
It's
she's
coming.
it's so interesting. I think you said it perfectly, Uncle. That she's such an interesting character. I love the portrayal of her in this and her development, because there's also a lot there that I never thought of when growing up as a fan of Mon Mothma, just in the sense of like we knew she's like this cult figure of like
Right.
this like cult icon hero for us because we didn't get much of her.
Because
You saw you see her couple minimal lines. You see like the haircut, which I'm interested when she goes with that haircut. That's a step down.
I was thinking that.
That's a
today,
step
too.
down. Just because you're not living the high life,
I'm not going backwards.
just because you're not living the high life, you can
Right.
keep a nice hairdo.
Exactly.
But
She lost her hairstylist in the process of
her
her
hairstyle is
You get a
over.
red
Rebel
Council?
Alliance coming out.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. I'll put that on the
Elegant
yes.
Mon Mothma is
Put that on the
is
yes.
good. But I kind of always in my mind, not having any of these stories about her that I had seen much of, kind of always just assumed she was just like kind of a stoic, strong figure who was probably one of the first people that were like, hey, we need to rebel, we need to do this, and then she never second guessed it. She was strong, and this is so much more real
Yeah.
because that's not how things go in real life when you have as much to lose as what she does.
That's right.
She is equally as strong, if not even stronger in this story than what I had imagined, but she's also more real because I have to whisper over here. I have to be careful. I have to watch, and then I have to second guess. Are we doing the
Yeah.
right thing?
Mhm.
Is now the time?
Mhm.
If we go to, Abigail and my wife and I are watching Survivor right now,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's
You
always
gotta know when.
it's always an
When do
interesting
you
play
break
of
the-
when do you do it? Because
Mhm.
once you do it, you're out there. If you make the big move
Mhm.
and it doesn't go well, you're going home.
If you do it too late,
If you do it too late,
you're going home.
you're going home.
Right.
And so it's always, I've got the plan. I
Mhm.
can only tell certain people the plan if
It's
I can
gotta be the
trust
right
them.
people.
It has to be the right people.
Right. That's very
And
similar.
it's always waiting, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Are we doing this? Are we doing this?" And then Luthen's like, "Let's go, let's go." And she's like, "I don't know." So I love
Luthen is
her
not-
characters.
Luthen has the benefit of not being who he is.
He's just an artifact.
The guy
seed.
who
Yeah.
did it is not the same guy.
Exactly.
Her moves are her moves. She lives and dies by
Exactly.
this.
She's making political moves while funding things that aren't being seen, but she's also trying to make openly noticeable political moves to make a difference
Right.
as well.
And she doesn't have an
Yes.
alter ego.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
hide
Yeah.
behind a different
Yeah.
version
Exactly.
of herself.
And then kind of going off what you're saying too about like reality and how realistic it can be, even just relating it to the realism of the original trilogy. Kirk is just saying in the chat, Andor is showing how evil the Empire really is, really adds greater context to the original trilogy.
Yes.
It really does. 'Cause
Makes
then-
him so much worse.
Oh. As if they weren't bad enough already.
Right.
Blowing up planets.
That's
It's-
a great
I mean-
point.
Enjoying. Listen, okay, so blowing up a planet, horrible thing. But you've got
I know where
these
you're
mindless
going here.
people pushing buttons.
yeah,
It's different to stare at somebody's face and torture them.
I know where you're getting. Yeah,
that
couldn't agree more.
you know what I mean?
This is
I
actually.
would have a very, very hard time, but staring at somebody, I don't even think I'd actually do it.
No.
I could push a button and pretend.
Yeah.
I couldn't just stand there and torture
That's a
somebody
completely
over and
different-
over.
Yeah.
That's
clearly
like
one's way worse, but I couldn't do the other one. I
Yeah,
don't think I could possibly do it.
it's similar to like some of those moments in
Check it
like
out.
in a lot of movies. If it's like someone's infiltrating the mob or someone's infiltrating,
right.
then there's a moment of like, all right, you're one of us. Pick up the weapon and do the and you hurt your friend,
Right.
Or kill
Yeah.
someone, and you're like,
Donnie Brasco.
yeah,
you
I
seen that?
can't do that. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Where even if it was a different thing where it was, okay, I'm in the background, I know a plan is going down, and unfortunately to keep my cover, I actually have to let it go down. It's different than being the one going, go, you up front, go face to face and go do
Go
the
do it,
thing.
yeah.
Keep torturing
It's
the
so much-
person.
So the comment they were talking about there, I do think it's interesting because we haven't seen the Emperor, and I don't think that we probably will or that we need to.
We
But
got his name. We got a name drop.
We haven't seen the
Yes.
Emperor, but the reason I bring
Yeah.
this up, we haven't seen the Emperor, Darth Sidious, any of that stuff. We haven't seen Darth Vader or Tarkin or any of these
Yeah.
historically what we think of the evil empire. These are kind of the big figureheads. And while Darth Vader is one of the greatest, if not the greatest villain of all time, and Palpatine is his own thing, is just awesome, the Empire has maybe never been scarier than it is that they have convinced otherwise normal people to do
Right.
such horrible things
Yes.
Yeah.
to other people face to face, where Darth Vader's a monster. And a monster hurting people is scary, and I'm afraid of the monster. But you never think like, I wonder what the monster's reason is. A monster's a monster.
That's
like
right.
Monsters hurt people.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different versions of monsters, but you never like, I can't believe the monster's going through with this. You
That's
never
right.
think the monster's
No,
going to
no,
change
he's
of heart.
doing what he does.
When it's a person, and
It's the average officer that's just
when the
now
average officer is saying,
torturing
"Oh,
someone.
we'll kill them. Oh, by the way, if you go here, oh, I'm gonna have to fry you now. Oh, by the way, here's the sound of 1,000 screaming, dying children. Here you go.
Yes,
lean
in
back,
some
lean back. Oh, don't have to worry about the restraints.
your
That's
head up.
mainly for your own safety. You're like, this is scary.
these are the people that are
Yeah.
demented.
Yeah, it's just a different level of
Yeah.
scary. It's
It
interesting.
is. It is.
Who we
Yeah,
not
Star
talk
Wars
about?
Sci-fi horror.
I agree. Scary. Who we not? Who did we miss? We got Bix. We talked about
There was no Luthen in this.
Andor's
no,
a pretty good storyline. but
No,
eh,
no Saw.
overrated.
No Saw Gerrera.
No Saw in this one. No Luthen in this one.
Yeah.
no Clea.
Andor.
Clea.
Can we
Andor's
talk about
in
Andor?
there. I think he gets enough press.
I do like. It's interesting now
He's
that
kind of
Andor.
being just pushed forward at this point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Andor.
yeah.
Andor feels like he's
He's
now at the point where he's realizing, because we always wonder how does he get to
Right.
that Rogue One
Yeah.
where he's all in for it, and now he's like waking up.
Did I
He's starting
miss-
to
He's
see the
always
Lord,
been
come
open
on.
to. He's
He's
always,
always
been
been
open
against
to
the Empire, but not for the
Yeah.
cause.
And he's
No,
always
no.
been open to the idea of escaping or like going against the law,
Yeah.
basically. Of
Right.
like escaping, get away from the Empire. You know, that's why he wanted to go run to
Sure.
some, far off, planet anyway,
right.
just to run and get away. But it's different now when he's gonna see people that he's come to know over the past few months dying that are just trying to get out, and like
Mhm.
he's gonna partly feel like, in this escape, he may feel responsible as well to like try and get more and more people out, because he knows if not, they're
Right.
either
Yeah.
stuck there forever or they're dead.
That's right.
And I think the connection that he has with Snoke, what's his name?
With Kino Loy.
Kino
Kino.
Loy.
I love that you didn't call him Andy Serkis
No.
or Kino Loy with Snoke. His
Snoke.
connection with Snoke.
Snoke.
love it.
He was a
With
clone.
Kino Loy, and kind of you see his character breaking a little bit too.
Right.
Like the onions are
The
the
safety
layers
of
are
who he
coming
is
off.
is not
Yep,
safe. He
yep.
realizes
Yeah.
there's no safety in being a
And
leader.
they tease
And
it,
he's letting go of the hope of he's never getting. We
Right.
found he's never
Right,
getting out.
right.
and he chips away at him. He chips away at him throughout the whole episode by asking him the same question:
Mhm.
How many officers are?
No one's
Yeah,
listening.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
How many
when
officers?
he's
How many
talking to the
officers?
doctor, when Kino Loy's
Yeah.
talking to the doctor and saying, "You have to save me," he only has he's only got 40 shifts left.
got
And the
40
guy's like, "I
shifts
can't
left."
save anyone." The guy's like, "We're not saving anyone."
Because he'll understand. I can't
Injects him,
say
and then all of a
anyone.
sudden, that's like, what has this all been for?
He said,
too?
he said in a day. He said in a week from now, you'll be wishing you had the same.
You'll be
fate
wishing the
as this
same
guy.
thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just
No,
think
but,
that
no,
was
but
a
you're
big
right
moment for him.
because he's not just saying a week. Like he's understanding. Like this guy, he's actually
It's
getting,
him
he's the
now,
only
it's me
one getting
later.
out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You think this is bad a week from now, as because he's also referring to what happened on level 2,
Yeah.
and he saw what happened. So if that starts spreading to other places, he's telling him, he goes, "You're not going to want to be here for that."
I will say, not a great idea to have doctors floating around.
no,
If you want to keep secrets, let's keep the doctor
yeah.
in this area. But yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
it's going to get ugly.
So regarding that, and that maybe as we're starting to kind of wrap up some of the Andor stuff,
Predictions coming, yeah.
what's interesting is when you're talking about the doc, not great to have the doctor floating around. It's interesting that the episode was titled "Nobody's Listening!"
Nobody's lis-
exclamation point. I thought that's interesting,
Right.
Yeah.
And it was from the quote of Andor saying to Kino Loy, when they're
It's like,
talking in
"Nobody's
their
listening."
bunks, and he's like, "Stop! They're gonna do this." And he's like, "Nobody's listening."
You think
And
they
he's
care
like,
enough?
He's
to
like, "They're
listen
gonna
to
They don't
fry us."
care.
He's like, "They don't care. You don't
We're
understand.
too small for that, yeah.
They think they are invincible.
right.
They think, why would they even?
That's the
they would not even spend the time to get to know if we could. That's why I
Yeah.
think we could do this. Is they don't think that we have the guts to do anything. They think that
Yeah.
they're not vulnerable at all. But the nobody's listening. That's another oversight of the Empire.
It's the same thing
of
he told
just,
Luthen.
Why would we
earlier.
let our doctors run around? Because why not?
Yeah.
We're not
That's
gonna do
right.
anything. They don't even think about
It's
it.
the same thing he told Luthen at the beginning of the series, where he's like, "How do I get in? I just walked in." You think that they
Walked
care?
in
You
like
pretend
think
they
that
belong
any-
there.
they don't expect any of us to do that,
That's
so they're
right.
not going to be looking for anybody to break in or act like they're with the Empire.
I like it too because actually everybody's listening.
Yeah.
Everybody's listening. All of the inmates are all listening. They can
They're
all
all listening.
Yeah.
They're all hearing it. All right, predictions.
Yeah.
What's
Predictions.
gonna happen?
Predictions.
Prison Break.
So Andor gets out in episode 10.
I think Grogu's showing up.
Grogu
I think
is going to open the prison door.
I think Andor gets out episode 10, next episode. Man, as much as I would love, because I want to have Andy Serkis, I think Andy Serkis bites it on Prison Break.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't, but
Just because I would love for him to be
Maybe
a
we
prominent.
make predictions on each character. Andor gets out.
I think Kino Loy doesn't make
Kino
it.
dies.
Yeah, I think he helps Andor get out, but in the process,
Any of the inmates get out with him, and
Maybe,
I
become
think some
rebellion.
some get out.
what's his name? Melshi. Melshi is the other guy who's like always right next to him.
The guy who's doing the signaling?
I don't know if
the
that's
guy
his
who's
name.
always saying, "You're never getting out of here. The dates don't matter." Is that,
Yeah,
is that him?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
That
the
could be
one
cool.
that Kino's always going, shut up. I told you, quit talking about
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Oh, okay. Andor gets out.
Gets
I
out.
think a couple people get out,
I think they get out.
but
What-
I don't think a lot do.
What about the fate of Bix? What are we going to find out?
Oof.
I think she.
I think
I mean, she's already being tortured, so I don't think she'll die. I think there has to be I just feel like there's a moment where she's at some point gonna get connected again with Andor
I think they let her out,
to try to
Track her.
find.
and
See if he goes
and,
to find her.
and something happens to Marva.
I was, they
Yeah.
said
Try to
that
draw him
they're,
back.
They tease that
'Cause they talked
she's-
about how we're
she's-
not-
We don't need to go after her.
we're
She's
not
brittle.
doing, we're just watching her and
They
waiting, using
got
her
to
as
get him
bait.
back. So
Yeah.
my prediction is Andor goes back to Ferrix. Marva dies in the next episode.
Yeah.
And
could see that.
who's the guy? The guy they were torturing before Bix?
Oh,
I think he's just a
Yeah.
vegetable now.
I wonder
yeah, the
if
shop
there's-
owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andor's going to come back and see the devastation
Yeah.
Yep.
caused.
I'm wondering if in the process of this escape, this place goes kaboom, and then now there's a whole nother thing of like another rebel escape alliance, like rebels.
Can you
break
imagine the
out.
fame?
And now
Andor's
it's-
fame. If
Andor,
they connected again somehow.
same
But I'm just saying, like,
guys.
but that's what I'm saying, because then it's like we need to find him now.
Now
But
it's
maybe
priority.
maybe that's too big.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about the
maybe
legend
that's-
of Luke Skywalker doing the trench run, blowing up the Death Star.
Andor.
If Andor
I
is
don't-
responsible for the heist, is responsible for blowing up this prison and breaking people out, and even though he goes out, in the end, is responsible for stealing the Death Star
All this
plans.
stuff. Oh man.
You're like, he's immortalized.
He's
It's
the
like
legend.
Yeah.
one of the greatest
I don't know if
rebels.
that'll
All
happen
Luke
or
did
not.
was
I'm
fire the.
Yeah.
That was it.
I don't
Yeah,
know
with
if
the-
that'll
with the
happen or
blast,
not.
you
I
can see
just
how am I
feel
supposed to
like
How am I
fight?
supposed to fight?
I just feel like there could be some other big see, I'm telling you, the rebels are things are happening
Yep.
type deal.
I think you're right with
Yeah.
the prison.
And so I don't know if just because I feel like there's got to be Imperial casualties in the process of, and not just like a couple that die in the process of them escaping.
it's gonna be big.
It's gonna be, I feel like something's gonna happen, whether the whole thing goes up or it's gonna be recognized enough that I think, what's her name, Deetra, we'll
Yeah.
find out. We'll hear about it.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, I think it'll be big enough that they're gonna hear about this happened on this moment.
They're
and
gonna
people
connect
got out.
Andor to it
Man.
after he's out. After he's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
All right. What about Mon Mothma? Is she gonna be discovered in the next episode?
I think
Or is
she
she
gets
gonna
sent to
meet with-
prison.
she's gonna meet- Is she gonna go along with this gangster and get tied up with
I
that
think
whole
so.
thing?
Yeah, this gangster. That's interesting.
I think
I
I think
do
she'll
keep
be
saying the word
hesitant, but
gangster. They didn't
Yeah.
say gangster. They said thug. But
Doug. Yeah. I do think that she doesn't. I think that she's out in the open, exposed in this first season. And we've
Yeah.
only got episode 10, 11, 12. So I do think in the next 3 episodes. So maybe it is next episode. I think maybe
Maybe.
next episode. It's a conclusion of that story arc, or the third arc. I would see maybe her hand. Maybe it even ends with her like, all right, we're picking up and like this is it. Now there's no turning
she,
back.
she leaves her
We're a
family
little bit out there.
or
Yeah.
something. Looks at the
Mhm.
husband, just like I
she
gotta
gets
go.
out. She
Looks at
gets. She
Perrin and
has
goes,
to
"Hey,
get
Perrin,
out.
I'm going to the store for some milk." Then she never comes
Never
back.
I think she
back.
gets
And
out.
not only
yeah,
that,
before
it's
being
not even Blue Moon.
discovered, I think she gets out
She gets out before.
And there
Yeah.
may be a casualty or two along the way, whether it's her good friend is
Yeah.
discovered
Mm.
helping her or something. I think that, and I think Bix is going to get out, but she'll be. I think she'll be back to what she was. But
Yeah.
the other guy
Yeah.
will not be.
Bix,
No,
she
I don't
seems
think
strong.
he's-
She seems pretty strong. I
Mhm.
think she'll be.
And Cyril,
This dude's psycho.
I think he could
He's-
become.
He's psycho.
If they don't let him back in, I think he could become like a Saw Gerrera, but for the Empire.
And
Like-
fine, I'm gonna do it
A
myself.
solo
Solo.
I'm
Oh,
gonna do
I-
it myself.
vigilante
just
who's
do
doing
his own
something
thing.
to try to.
He's gonna make it a mission.
She
of
now
himself.
said,
I don't know.
if I see you again,
yeah,
I'll throw you. I'll throw you in the prison, or I'll
Yeah.
throw you
put
something.
you to the farthest
yeah,
in the
farthest
outer rim
hole,
so
and
fast.
yeah,
Man.
yeah. So
All right, that's a half hour.
Yeah.
he's like,
That
so
is-
he
that
he
is.
read that and he
See?
heard her say that, and he goes, "So you're telling me there's a chance?" He's just,
I don't think I could see in her eyes that she didn't really mean that.
yeah.
I think that was
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a leave
I'm
me.
not
That
sure.
was a leave me alone.
he could
comment.
be like, no.
So meet at my place, your place, or
Later on, he's like, no.
that's good.
Man.
Oh,
all
what
right.
a show! We're
Yeah.
loving it.
Either
Yeah.
way, it's gonna be great.
Loving
I
it.
can't
Gonna be great.
wait-
Three
I can't
episodes
wait for
left.
Prison
Wednesday.
Break. Hopefully.
Prison break.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Prison break. Precious.
I wanted to see him
Yeah.
break into a little bit of we get
Imagine.
Andy Serkis. He's like, "Oh, hands above your head. Shut up. Don't talk about."
Don't talk about it, Precious. The red lights are on. Adam.
I don't know.
Just goes crazy.
Fry us, Precious.
I don't know. There's a lot of spitting involved with that.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
impression. Yeah,
I think
cool.
is that the end? Is
We're gonna
that
try to do that each week. Half hour.
I
Talk
like
about,
it.
Andor
and then we'll
wrap
talk
up.
about some other
Review.
stuff.
I like it.
Love
So that's if you guys are watching it, that's probably the wrap up of the Andor.
So if you only care about Andor, you may leave.
yeah.
If you care about us, you may stay.
If
you're here for Andor.
If you want to hear about some other stuff,
Yeah.
stick around.
Love
What are we gonna talk about?
do you want to touch on Tales of the Jedi real quick?
it.
Do
Ooh,
I?
Yes, we do. Duke-I.
And I don't think we
Ooh,
have time to go
Dooku.
through every single episode, but
Yeah, we
we can touch on some things.
Yeah.
Have you
Overall thoughts?
you've watched them all?
I've
Watched
watched them all.
I've
Man.
rewatched 3 of the
Okay.
episodes.
Moment of truth. Did you almost or did you cry in any episodes?
I thought about it.
Because the first episode, I was just like, oh,
This-
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
oh man,
Immediately,
just the whole.
First of all,
vibe of it is just
overall thoughts. So overall thoughts.
Oh, it's incredible. All of it.
I loved
I think
it.
it's
Just the
fantastic.
I loved it.
The animation.
The
I could
animation's
literally
great.
watch
The
Star
actual
Wars
style,
animation.
though, too, is it doesn't feel as much as I love Clone Wars and all that. It's
Yeah.
not. It didn't feel like, hey, here's 6 more episodes of Clone Wars that are going to tell you some stuff.
It is not.
It
that.
is definitely told in a different style as far as the way it takes its time, the way, like the certain shots, a lot of it's super cinematic. And again, not that Clone Wars isn't, but it is like a slow take your. It's funny because I feel like a lot happens and I go, "Oh, that was only 13 minutes."
Mhm.
But
Oh, I
it's like
know.
the whole time
I
I'm
told the whole story. I feel like I
told
got
the
the
whole
whole
story.
story.
It was great.
oh,
So good.
so overall loved it. Sounds like you loved it, Uncle.
Loved it.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it feels like the connections idea that I threw out where
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
fill
exactly
the
what it
gaps.
is. Because I
No,
don't
it's
think this could be the
directly
last
connected.
ones they'll do.
no, but we are telling us something about the character
I think there'll be more
in a
seasons.
space that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
This is actually exactly the
I-
idea Uncle had.
honestly,
Unbelievable.
It is the
It's the exact
you
idea,
had.
especially with what they do with Ahsoka later on.
Yeah.
And seeing how she gets back into it, and then
Oh,
also
yeah.
the whole Dooku thing. So much of it was like, oh, I've always wondered that.
How did that happen?
How did
Yeah.
that happen?
Where did they go
Wow.
after
Or,
that?
Oh,
or the opposite.
or-
I had no idea
Ooh,
that happened.
I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline. I didn't know that during
Should we-
this
have
time
you-
this
if
is
they
where
haven't
Dooku was.
watched
This
it,
is-
if we're gonna spoil anything,
yeah, we should probably say, if you haven't watched Tales of the Jedi,
You can knock it all out in
Uh,
1 hour.
yeah,
you can
just
knock
go
it all
do
out in 1 hour. In the best way I found, the best way to watch Tales of the Jedi is to first subscribe to this podcast,
Smash it.
smash
Smash
the
the
notification bell, and then go watch the show, and then come back, and then watch
That
this
is the best
probably,
way to watch
You'll probably watch this 10 times over
Absolutely.
to help the numbers.
Yeah.
But we will talk about some spoiler stuff. So here's your warning.
Here comes a big one.
Here comes the big one.
Ahsoka at Padme's funeral.
Yeah. How about that?
What?
I
and
know.
And the conversation with Bale?
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, hold up.
Him being the but
No, sorry, go ahead.
no, just him being
Don't
the,
hold up.
Him being the one to come to the rescue when
Oh yeah,
He needed to
yeah.
save those people on the
And
episode.
also being the one to talk her back into the fight a little bit.
right.
We need
Bale
you.
is always an
Bale
unsung
reminded
hero.
We
her
need
of
you.
what-
Give me a call if you're needed.
Yeah.
Which
Bale
eventually
is
leads
great.
to the last episode where she's like, I'm ready. I'm back. But
It's
I was gonna
amazing.
say, how about the fact that
Gosh.
Kanan Jarrus,
You see little Kanan? That was
Caleb Doom,
in
was
that training,
in there
in that training
watching.
sequence.
right.
So he knew Ahsoka
He knew
before
Ahsoka
before
then.
Rebels.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's
So he knew Ahsoka
Yep.
and watched her training with well, I guess he was a part of the training that didn't go so well.
Didn't
Which
quite.
then or no, that was the training that was too easy. That's right.
it's too easy.
That was the
Too
training
easy.
that was too easy.
That,
Go
that was
well.
Anakin.
That's
that was
true.
Anakin telling her that's not a real test.
Yeah.
How'd it go, Master? You don't want to hear. You don't want to know my thoughts. Trust me. She's like, what's wrong?
It's a
That
joke.
That's no test. I want to put you through a real test. And he goes on to abuse her.
And
No,
they
it's-
say, "Hey
I'm
Rex,
just
come
Hey
here."
Rex, fire everything you've got on that.
And I-
Grab the
No,
boys.
Right.
No.
I love it
It was
because
just- it
it
was
turns
awesome.
it just makes Ahsoka that
But
much
it-
better, but it also makes Anakin that much
It
better.
shows that
does.
he truly cared about her.
At first, it just feels torturous, and then when that little dialogue that he has explaining it,
But it
Totally
also
makes sense.
And how about
here's
the fact
thing.
that
I take it
Anakin's
as the-
training of her is what saves her
What saves her
against
at the
Order
end.
It's the exact
66.
move.
from him
Against
yeah,
those troopers.
the Emperor, right?
yeah, against them,
Those troopers.
against those
She's
troopers,
trained
Same
against
guys.
those
the
troopers.
exact
that
same,
then
literally
turn
the
on her.
same people other than Rex.
Love that.
It's
And then it
Anakin
cuts
going
and
out of his way
ends.
to save her.
And Rex is like, "You ready?" They're like, "Let's do this."
Mm-hmm.
And she walks out in cuffs.
I
I'm
am
like,
now.
"Oh my goodness!"
That end. Gosh.
it's,
Yeah.
it's so
That
good.
show is so good.
It's
I
so
already. Well, first we'll keep talking about these episodes, and then maybe we'll finish the discussion with what are some other Tales of the Jedi characters we'd love to see.
good. Oh my
We
god!
can
I
speak
already
to
thought,
that
a little
of
bit.
some.
Or Tales of the Rebels, or
Tales of the Rebel. Yeah.
Tales of the Empire,
Yeah, I feel like this could
Tales
have
of
been
the Sith.
this could have been Tales of the Sith.
We could go along.
It could have been
Okay.
both.
Speaking of
Let's
which,
be honest.
Could be.
those 3 Count Dooku episodes are 3 of my favorite animated episodes in Star Wars, I think.
Yeah.
Especially the Sith Lord,
Well,
episode 4.
huge reveal, by the way.
I have watched, well, first of all, Yaddle.
That's what I was
Everything
gonna
with
say.
Yaddle.
Right.
Voiced
Yaddle
by Bryce Dallas Howard. by the
And
way.
not Yoda speak. Big reveal.
Right.
I know, which
Not
means
Yoda speak.
that little goofball just does that intentionally.
It just means
Which
he
means
has a-
Yoda's just a weirdo.
Which I think it is explained, by the way. I think I heard this. It's either in a comic or a book or something that it's someone's talking about Yoda in the way that he speaks. And it's said that Yoda, because of how old he is, apparently Yaddle's like 400 years younger than Yoda, that Yoda speaks
She looks at.
in the way that the original Jedi spoke.
Oh.
And that he is,
really?
and that he speaks in the way that they
Because
that
of how
they
old
spoke.
he is.
Because of how old
wow,
he
I'm
is.
glad they retconned that thing.
And
Yeah.
It'd be a disaster.
could you imagine every time? Like, imagine Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. I can't even do it. I'm done.
I'm done.
He just says Obi-Wan.
I can't imagine.
That's it. Imagine that.
Just put the
Do or do
prepositional
not.
phrase.
There is no try, Obi-Wan. Do
Obi-Wan.
or do not.
The prepositional
There is no try.
phrase. Put first.
But
Do.
first,
Yeah.
we're 900 years
Strong
old.
with
I
the
am.
Force.
Look as good. You will not. No, it's, yeah.
Train the
Oh,
boy.
speaking
will
of
be.
Qui-Gon, another cool thing.
Oh, yeah, I know. this.
They got Liam Neeson back.
Yeah, that was
But
awesome.
And-
also, for young Qui-Gon, it's actually Liam Neeson's son voicing.
It
His
is.
actual
It
real-life
is.
son voice.
Didn't know that.
His real life son voicing young Qui-Gon.
Wow.
And to touch on what Mike was asking, or maybe it was Uncle, what other tales maybe we'd like? An entire Dooku young Qui-Gon show. I would watch it.
So you're saying just do more
Just the
Tales
whole-
of
Just
Jedi,
ju-
more Dooku.
Just
More-
give me more
I love
Dooku
it.
and
Tales
more.
of the Dooku.
We've talked about before
But
that
more Dooku before
one
the
of-
turn.
we've talked about it before about some of our favorite. What are some of the things we love the most about the Clone Wars? Not the wars themselves, but the show. And we've said a lot of some of our highlights from the Clone Wars. One of the characters we always said is Dooku.
Yeah.
That we get so
So
much more
good.
Dooku. Dooku in this,
It's
it
the
is-
opposite side of the coin.
it's so interesting because
Master
Qui-Gon's
Sifo-Dyas?
death, while he was already down a
Explain
path,
that.
clearly, there are certain things that happen, and Qui-Gon's death is one of them, that breaks him. I mean, he obviously, the way it's told in the story, Qui-Gon's death, and then he's already been dealing with Sidious at this point.
Yeah.
But there are so many different things that happen along the way where Dooku has a lot of good points, but chooses to run to evil, just like Yaddle says. Yaddle actually says, there's so much you were right about.
Mm-hmm.
This is what the council was wrong about. This is why I left the council, is what Yaddle said. This is why I left the council. You were right.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon didn't have to die. They were stubborn and did not want to believe you and others who believed that the Sith was rising. Now, as a result, though, he hardened his heart. All these things happened. He ran to the Sith. But the Dooku, the way that's talk about getting teary-eyed with the Ahsoka stuff, there was also this like the music, the heartbreak,
the score
looking at the
throughout
tree
all of
when
these
he's like, I used to
episodes.
bring Qui-Gon here. Qui-Gon used to stare at this tree.
Fantastic.
I started getting a
know.
little choked up just even watching Dooku and thinking what a heartbreaking. It was similar to me of like Anakin's fall to the dark side, of like how sad it is to see Anakin in episode 3 when everything's actually happened. You're like, this is like sick to my stomach watching it. Even though Dooku, we don't see all the big highlights of when Dooku was doing a lot of good stuff.
But you're like,
you
no,
do see
you just want
this
to shake
happens.
him.
You see
just wanna
this
shake
happens,
him.
and you see him being frustrated about it. You see this happens, and you're like, well, he has a reason to be upset about that. He loses Qui-Gon, and then you go see him, and then he finishes off Yaddle, and you're like, dude, it's just a
that was brutal. That was brutal.
turn. And then he's sitting there, and Palpatine says almost the exact same things he says to Anakin. Do you remember what you told me about your mother and the Sand people? Except in this, he's like, do you remember what you told me about Qui-Gon? And he says a similar thing to him, and then he even does
whatever he needs.
his rise. And the whole thing is- I could go on, but
And then how about how he says, yeah, you lost an apprentice and I lost my apprentice. Talking
Because
about,
Dooku
talking about
goes-
Maul.
Dooku
It's like, yeah,
actually
you lost
goes
yours and I
to-
lost mine.
We need each other.
Yeah.
Dooku actually goes to confront Sidious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've gone too far this time. And he's like, you've gone too far. He's like, oh, whatever do you mean? Well,
And
first
then
of all,
literally
I love that
10
they got Ian
minutes later,
McDermott
he
back.
kills.
Yeah.
That's Ian McDermott's actual
Yeah, it was.
voice.
Yeah.
One way to do it.
It's just, I
Yeah.
could go on and on.
I
love
would
these
like
episodes.
to see, because we know this is true, but it doesn't make sense it doesn't make sense when you watch it that someone would turn that far that quickly. So I would like a show talking about, and this might be what George Lucas wanted to do, talking about the actual power of the dark side. Because what we do, I relate to the Dooku character because that would be how I would want to, that's how I would react.
Yeah.
When I watch that smug
Kill Yaddle.
senator.
Just kidding.
Smug
No,
senator.
But no,
the
no,
pathway-
you're right.
The
Yeah,
pathway that
Yeah,
takes
the
you
steps
there,
that got him there.
Yeah.
I would be more likely to react that way, to go, you are the problem. Look at all these people you're oppressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't keep
You don't
doing
care about
that.
these
There is
people?
no way I'm going to let you leave.
No.
Just because you put your weapon down, I'm supposed to stop fighting? No.
Yeah.
You put your weapon down, I'm going to finish you, and we're going to put somebody in your place like your son who will do it right.
yeah.
You're finished, and just end him. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
It almost feels weak to go, okay, you put your weapon down, the fighting is over, you go back and do what you want. We'll try to use the tools of politics to get you voted out, which we'll never do because you have so much power. That doesn't feel right to me.
No. And it's, yeah.
But you
Yeah.
get,
Keep going.
once you step down that pathway, it's the power of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
The dark side pushes you to a point where you become a slave to it. It's
Yeah.
more like,
Yeah.
I was watching that thing about
It's literally.
about Matthew Perry with drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out, the allure of that starts out with it allows you to do things that feel superhuman, where you feel contented and you have more energy and you don't get angry as quickly. And then it helps you overcome pain. And you take that pill and you take another and a couple more, and then eventually you become
Yeah.
to where you can't function anymore without it, and you become a slave to it.
Yeah.
It drives
it's-
your decisions,
yeah.
and it turns you into a monster.
And that's exactly how George
That's what
Lucas
the dark-
describes it.
That's
He
exactly
said that's why
right.
George Lucas and the Star Wars lore is so adamant about there's not a great Jedi. That's not, you can't dabble in the dark side and the light side be fine.
Right.
You can't do it. It's not possible.
Mhm.
Because if you're dabbling in the dark and you're actually trying to use that, right? You're taking that pill, that
Yeah.
drug, whatever
There are,
it is.
yeah.
That will become
There are
that will
consequences.
become a part. There will be a point where you, okay, now this isn't enough to fulfill what that feeling
exactly
is. I need
right.
more of it. I need more of it.
Shadow of the Sith gets to it.
Yeah.
Oh
very well.
yes,
That's
the
exactly
feeling
that.
it gives, that killing feeling
That's
of
it.
taking the light from something,
that's not something you just
becomes-
forget and just move on
Yeah.
it drives them
until
It's
it completely
insatiable.
consumes them.
Almost like a vampire. You
Yeah.
can't. It sucks
Takes
you in
over
and
the
then
host.
drives you to the
Yeah.
end until it's you either kill your master or you're consumed by it yourself, but you can't escape it.
Yep.
And we see
that's why-
glimpses of that, but
Yeah.
Dooku
And that's-
embraces
yeah.
parts of it, and then it draws you in, and then the Emperor just chews you up and spits you out until you get another one.
Yeah.
And Anakin, same thing when he falls to his knees.
Yep.
I'm like, why? Because the dark side
It's
That's
draws you in and then pulls you in. You can't
Yeah.
escape. you
Yep.
know?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what we see with Dooku.
And sometimes it
sure.
is disguised in things that are
right? That
wait,
are
this
good.
this is right though. Like
so
this,
Anakin do that too.
this
yeah.
this you guys the Jedi are wrong about this.
Mhm.
And if I was in charge or if I did it, I could be better.
Right.
Or I could
Yeah.
do things like there are ways that you start thinking this and then it takes you and then of course the Emperor steps in and takes it but skews it to a whole nother level and
Absolutely.
That's
That's
the
what
thing.
takes
You
you down
kind of
the path.
forget that in a way you could almost. I know people said this before, but Dooku's kind of. It's interesting because the Separatists. We're introduced to the Separatists from an audience standpoint of we are on the side of the Republic,
That's right.
and the Separatists are the initial kind of. Well, you have the Trade Federation in episode
The bad guys.
1,
Yeah.
but then you have especially come Attack of the Clones. The Separatists are the bad guys.
Right.
When it flips, the Separatists are kind of your first rebels.
They
Like,
are.
Some
Yeah.
of the figureheads that were there, like Dooku and these others, are evil because of the extremes that they went to. But Dooku's kind of one of the first rebels because he saw a lot of
He
the
told
corruption
everyone
that was
everything
going
was going to
on.
happen.
It's
Yeah.
just the way
Yeah,
he
he
went
did.
about it
That's right.
led him straight to the dark. But the
Yeah.
things, that's why it would have been so interesting. One of the things I think that would always be fascinating is we talk a lot about if this character hadn't died or whether this had happened. Obviously,
Mhm.
Qui-Gon dying had massive effects on Anakin,
Everything.
obviously.
Yeah.
on every
And I do know that because Qui-Gon was, Dooku was still alive during, all the way until Qui-Gon died. But it would be interesting to see what had happened if Qui-Gon had lived and never died and died at a very old age.
Mm-hmm.
Just comfort, like him confronting
Would that have helped
a
Dooku?
fallen Dooku.
Yeah. could
Like, wouldn't
that
you
have
love to
prevented
see-
that?
Love to see a Qui-Gon.
Wow.
Because Qui-Gon never lived to see that his master had fallen.
That's right.
He saw his
Yeah.
master left the order before it became this whole thing, but he never went and saw, oh, you've become a Sith Lord. I've never Tyrannus. He never saw that.
Yeah.
Right.
That would have been interesting of a Qui-Gon Dooku, because even throughout this, it is so apparent that Dooku loved Qui-Gon.
Oh yeah.
And Qui-Gon loved Dooku. He was master. Even
And that's why he even tells Obi-Wan, like, Qui-Gon would not have thought the same as you. Like, he's like, because he
Yeah.
knows that Qui-Gon and himself had some similarities and
and that's when
viewpoints
Obi-Wan's
and-
like,
Right.
Qui-Gon Jinn would never join you.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not so sure. But it's just because Qui-Gon was on the light. Qui-Gon wouldn't have gone to the dark. He had the same concerns you had, but the way he would have approached it is
interesting.
different.
It's different, yeah.
It's just
I don't
interesting
think.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't think Tyrannus was anywhere near. That's kind of what made Vader so special, is that he sold out so far.
Went all
To
Oh,
the
the
dark
yeah.
side, so far.
So, yeah.
Tyrannus, I think, still had allegiances, and Vader was.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it when he fought Ahsoka. You could see it when he fought
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Just hatred.
And they
Yeah.
and they hit on it in the
Never
Clone
really saw
Wars.
that hatred in Dooku.
Even Maul,
Never
even
saw
Maul,
hatred.
No.
even Maul sold out
felt
to the dark,
purposeful.
but was like more of just like a pawn
Yeah.
of just like, before his fall, basically
That's right.
down the pit.
Du-
But
Dooku, yeah.
just
Power
as
hungry.
leading up to him with with the Emperor,
Yeah.
it was more so like, I'm the Emperor, you're my puzzle piece type
I'll
deal.
bring you in.
Vader was like, Vader came in and he's like, I'll do whatever you ask, but it was also, I'm gonna take charge and do my own thing too, which is why you
Mhm.
see him gather the Inquisitors and
That's
hunt down
right.
the Jedi
Duke-
and all that.
I
Dooku
have hate
truly-
for the sake of hate.
Yeah.
I like
Dooku
Yeah.
truly did feel like what they categorized him as when Mace is like, Dooku's a political idealist. He's not a murderer.
It's not a murderer.
Now
not in his
he
nature.
becomes a murderer. It's not in his nature, but he does feel all the way to the end like he's a political idealist who also just happens to be crazy powerful in the Force and the dark side.
Yeah.
But like his driving motivations are these political ideals of like
politics.
he never goes to hunt down Obi-Wan or Anakin. They come to him and he's
That's
like
right.
he's like
And
I
tries to
don't.
get away.
He's essentially like, listen, you have no chance of fighting me.
Yeah.
All right, you're gonna come after me. I'm going. He never.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
never on the attack. Dooku.
Right.
We actually never see Dooku on the attack in any of the films.
Not a hunter.
Right.
It's always they come after me. Okay, I'll disarm you. Literally disarm you. Cut off your arm.
Speaking of that scene, you're right. He's always being
Right? It's
Speaking of that scene, do you
Disarmed.
think we need anything else? Talk about the hubris of the Jedi. Do we need any other scene other than that scene when Padme comes in to talk to the Emperor and they're talking about Dooku and they're talking just downplaying everything that she
It's
says?
so
and
wrong.
Yeah.
It's completely Jedi can't do that. That's-
Jedi can't do that. That's not his
Yeah.
nature.
It just feels
Yeah,
like
Einstein.
Yeah,
he's
seriously.
fallen to the dark side.
Not only could he do it, you could do it. Mace, you did the same thing.
You could do it, and Anakin, you
Guess
could do it,
what?
and guess what? Oh, we have a meeting with Palpatine in about 15. He could do it,
could
and
do
does
it.
do it. He is evil, personified.
It's
I
funny
love
that
it.
Mace
Tales
is
of the Jedi,
it's not
we
his nature.
love it. Not
He's
his
too
nature.
evil to live. You can't.
Yes.
What? He just said you can't.
He just said you can't do it.
It's like 2 episodes, like 1 episode.
How
ago.
about last thing on this? Because you just hit on something right before we're about to move on. The fact that Mace is telling in this. Mace is not on the council yet, I believe, in Tales of the Jedi. He was
Right.
talking about because he's
He
it's a
gets
young
the spot. That's another
it's
thing
a
that
young Mace
rubs
and a-
Dooku the wrong way.
it's a young Mace
Oh,
and
yeah.
a young Dooku.
He did it again. Mace did it again.
And how about the fact that Mace
somebody
though
else.
is telling him because this unarmed guy and he starts choking him and he's gonna finish him. He's like, hey. He's like, put it down. I'm gonna have to report to the council about how you handled this. Yet when Mace gets in a situation with,
Does it
remember
say-
he pulls the Dooku.
right.
He
Yeah.
must live. He's too dangerous to be left alive. You're taking a page out of Dooku.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just interesting now. I hadn't even pieced together the fact that
That
Mace
is
gets
true.
in a similar
just-
situation of disarmed.
I loved the moment
Mace.
of seeing Dooku pull out the blue lightsaber and then just
That
say, "We are protectors of the peace.
That is awesome.
When they
We're
piece
protectors
together,
of the people." And
they
I'm
fired
like,
blasters
Dooku.
in this direction. There should be marks on your ship, unless the fire came from the direction of the ship. He puts out
Yeah.
the saber, and you're like, "Oh gosh, he's
Right.
gonna."
I also love that
It was
it's
the
young
intruders.
Dooku, but
it was the
is it
guards.
though?
The guards shot him.
Is
What?
it actually? We refer to him as young Dooku. It's younger Dooku, but is he
Younger.
young?
No, he's
He's not
young.
90-year-old Christopher
He's
Lee.
young.
He's
Yeah,
He's still what?
He's like
not
a right. He's like
backflipping
a
at 90
young,
years old.
yep, 75-year-old maybe
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of 90. No, but if
He was spry.
I would like
was spry.
even if give us more. Like obviously, I want more Dooku, but I would love even more Dooku with a even younger, like even further back, like like him as a legitimate Jedi before we start seeing some of the stuff that's leaning him towards turning.
with
Some
Yoda
of him
working with
actually,
Dooku.
yeah, like exactly.
That would
Yoda
be
working with him,
awesome.
and then him actually getting to the point where it's like, okay, well now you can take on Qui-Gon, and
Oh, there's a
Qui-Gon
whole
being
s-
really young.
Yeah,
really young.
There's a
Like,
whole
that would
story
be-
there. That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool to see some of that story told.
Well, help me with it. Why don't I like Mace Windu at all? Why is that? It gets worse and worse. I mean,
I
it
think
was
he's,
bad after episode 3, and then I watched the one with him and the droids in was it Clone Wars or Rebel? It was Clone Wars. Him when the episode with the droids in there, the Quarren. It was like, what are we doing here? Mace, you have been sent to work with 3PO. You clearly should know where you are.
I don't know.
in
It's
the
funny though,
scheme.
because Mace is
I don't know. Why is it
half
though?
the time he's right, half the time it's
He's got that
he's-
purple saber. He took down Django.
he's clearly a
That
great. I
was
mean,
cool.
he's clearly a
He says
master
Dooku's better
swordsman.
than anybody.
Yeah.
Dooku.
Dooku. Yeah.
Obi-Wan said that. Dooku.
Dooku.
Yeah, he could master.
I
rival
think it
Master
really just
Windu.
comes down to the
It's the hypocrisy.
although he was the one that was like, I don't know. It's like
He's
he didn't
pushing-
trust Anakin.
He's pushing Anakin to do
I
stuff.
feel like we
He's-
criticized Mace Windu because he was hard on Anakin and was talking about how he didn't trust him. But in the end,
He was right.
He was right.
He was right.
It's
In the end, he
was
massively
right.
fall to the dark
He
side.
did
So
have
it's like-
that part right.
part of it. You could say, well, was part of that because, like, did Mace Windu have a part to play in that because of how he would treated him and how maybe not, like, and if so, I would say very small,
Yeah.
if anything. But then at the same time, it's like, but he was also right.
He was right.
Yeah.
I think if we talk about the hubris of the Jedi and they made a poster,
Yeah.
his face would be on it.
Needs to be up there for
I think
sure.
he epitomizes the hubris of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I just
But
think
isn't he
he's
also
just-
the one that says, I think it's about time we inform the,
Well, that's
the
what's
council
interesting.
that our
That our-
ability to sense in the Force
He
is
did.
diminished.
He
or
said a
whatever.
lot of good stuff.
That,
He did
but
say
that
some stuff.
is what's interesting though.
I
Is
don't know.
I don't trust him. He literally said, "I don't trust
I
him."
don't trust him.
And then, hey, by the way, if you do this, and if you do this for me, Anakin, and if you do this, you know I don't like you, and if you do that, then you will have earned my trust. I'll be honest. You will have earned my trust. If what you say is true about the senator, about
I just
Palpatine,
wanted-
then you'll have earned my trust.
I just
It's
wanted
just
him
something-
to say,
he just
"I
came
don't
off as always
care.
cold.
I don't care if you trust
Yeah.
me. What do I
Yeah.
care? Trust me, don't trust me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Then
He's
you will
always
have earned
cold.
my trust. Your trust. What about the count? I mean, you? I don't know.
What if
Let's talk about
9-year-old Annie goes,
No.
"No trust. You need to earn my trust.
I'm the
Right.
chosen one.
Just get this boy out of here."
And the
Get
way
him
he
outta here.
delivers the line, it's just these slow rolls.
Yeah.
He slow rolls the Willie Betrain line. You know, slow rolling in poker. When
Uh-huh.
you go, you
Yeah.
know, I got 3 6s. Oh,
All right.
man.
Yeah.
I only have 2 7s and another one. 3 7s. Oh.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
He did that with
yeah.
the training.
Yeah.
Then he will be trained? No.
No.
Next. I don't know.
Next. Yeah, it
All
was.
right.
It was intentionally cruel.
It was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
Mm.
so we want to wrap up tonight's episode with brief. We can do this.
Yeah, we
5
got an
minutes,
update, you got
few
an update
minutes.
on
Brief.
But want to talk a little bit about.
Fill us
We
in.
talked about last
News,
podcast episode,
news.
talking about some Star Wars movie news.
Breaking Star Wars guys news.
We have the thing on the. No, never mind.
Last podcast episode, we talked about how there was some breaking news stories in, I think it was Variety, maybe, who had Hollywood Reporter. One of them
Yeah.
was talking about how Damon Lindelof and a number of other creators met for a secret writing room type of a thing.
Ooh, not
Essentially,
so
the news
secret anymore.
the
Not
news
so
was that
secret.
Damon Lindelof would be heading the
Of
new
Lost
Star Wars
fame,
movie.
yeah.
Of Lost fame. He's done other shows.
Others,
Some
yeah,
other
but-
shows that I have not seen The Watchmen, but apparently The Watchmen.
It's good.
Not good enough
we
for
were
Henry,
like,
but it's good enough for us. No, that's
is
not
it?
the Watchman. That's the Watcher, I think.
That's the Watch. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The that was good. The for Henry, the Henry cast.
Going to do other things.
So the big thing last week was that he's getting a Star Wars movie, and we talked about it a little bit of
Yeah.
possibly post episode 9, all that type of stuff. Now, a little bit, not a ton more of breaking news regarding that, but there are some
Breaking
more,
news.
There's some more
Did that.
context and details that came out, which is
Keep doing.
Every time he says breaking news.
that apparently this movie is full steam ahead, moving fast. That it is apparently, according to the article and a couple articles written after it, supposedly we talked about possibly
The
being the
next-
next episode.
Yeah.
But that this
Movie?
has they said in this article that it has the most momentum of any of the Star Wars movies behind it. That
Wow.
it feels like they're all ahead on this, and that they actually met to have this like writers retreat thing right after Star Wars Celebration, which is now months ago.
Man.
This was after
Now
May.
tell me this: is it true? And I can't remember if this was part of the article or not. Is it true it's a musical?
It is a musical.
Mhm.
It's starring Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell.
And is it and
All
Hugh
right.
is Hugh Jackman in this one?
He's in every musical.
Yeah.
He's in
Um,
every
he's in
musical.
every musical. No, it's none of those things Nate just said. It's none of that nonsense.
And, of course,
But,
Bryce Dallas Howard.
It's Star Wars on ice.
Star Wars.
Star Wars on ice. I love it. You're not going to Disney Plus me. Cut to Finn on ice skates.
Coming
That's what I
soon to
want.
Disney Plus.
That's what I want.
Finn Skates.
Finn skates.
Vince Gate.
and he's just circling. Ray, I never got a chance to tell you, Ray. Never got a chance to tell you, Ray.
And then the ice
No,
breaks.
the,
He falls through. Credits roll. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, they fall through wampas underneath and just. So, couple
So
of
the
the
movie
things, couple
is-
of the details about this.
Yeah.
it being the next Star Wars movie, one of the things I want to talk about, but also the fact they talk about in this article that people are pretty positive and excited about because Damon Lindelof, who has done this in the past, is taking this writer's room approach versus
Let me write the whole story.
let me write the whole thing. I
Yeah.
have my
Yeah.
this is my thing, but that he very much is the lead, but that he brought in some of these other well-respected writers into a room along with Dave Filoni possibly, and we're like, hey,
Filoni.
here's some of my ideas. Let's bounce some ideas. How do we make this work, and what do we do going forward? And that the reason people are excited about it is we talked about last podcast that Kathleen Kennedy had said that they've been patient with the movies because they want someone to really invest multiple years.
Yes. They're
and
waiting
do,
for something
do more
that
of what
feels
someone
right.
did what Favreau did coming in to do the TV side of things of
Yeah.
I'm not just doing a project and moving on, but it's like, hey, I'm going to do this because I'm here and I want to plant my roots, not like for my whole career with Damon Lindelof do this, but
Literally plant
he spent
at Skywalker
years.
Ranch.
He spent
Skywalker Ranch.
years doing Lost.
You still here?
He's someone who dives into things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one,
I love it.
excited
Awesome.
about this kind
Love
of a
it.
group approach. I know people have criticized in the past certain movies maybe not having planned out certain things.
It seems like they definitely are trying to do that.
Seems like they're definitely trying
They're
to get
not
a course.
opposed to taking their time, maybe taking a little longer to get a Star Wars film out to make sure that they've got not just one story, and not that this is going to be a trilogy, but at least an idea of if this works out the way we hope it will, we have ideas of where this will go. Whether it's branching off to another movie this way or that way, or connecting maybe a different like a trilogy or something connected to it. It seems like they're like, let's get an idea moving forward on this branch that we can build off of.
Let me tell you what I think movies can do that TV shows don't. I love the pacing of the shows because we get deeper in the characters,
Yeah.
but we don't get Chase blow something up, cut. Lightsaber battle, blow something up, cut. We don't get that
The
fast
parallel
action
arcs
pace.
happening that fast at the same time.
That's what movies
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
We don't. So
TV
True.
shows are, let's do this arc. Okay, let's cut to this. Let's do
we're
this
gonna
arc.
work
Let's
through
cut
the
on this
show. We're gonna
person.
tell the story, build up, and then we come back. We go
Yeah.
another pace. Movies are like boom, 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 boom. We're gonna get so
It is.
Yeah.
we're gonna. It'll
Yeah.
be fun to get back to that.
So one of the other things regarding that too, when we talk about this having the most momentum of any of their Star Wars films that are in development, some of the things that had been announced, whether by Lucasfilm or other, because some of them announced directly by Lucasfilm multiple times. This is where anyone who thinks we're only super positive on Star Wars, this is where
Whoa.
we are really positive on it, but we also acknowledge that they did have a movie planned for 2022. Didn't happen. Then
Didn't
they bumped it to
happen.
2023. Didn't happen. Then they said, well, we'll bump it to 2025, which is the
Yeah.
current plan.
Has
Yep.
every
So-
Star Wars, literally every Star Wars show release date got delayed?
Well, the Star Wars shows,
Everyone.
though, have been going off well, though. They have been
No,
delayed
they've been
a little
doing
bit.
well.
Some
They've
come
been doing
earlier.
well.
Tales of Jedi snuck up on us. That
True.
was kinda cool.
True.
But you're right. For the most part, they
Yeah.
say,
But
"Here it
especially
is."
for the
Here it
movie,
is. Nah,
especially
that-
for the movie
nah.
stuff, there is part of me for the movie stuff that's like, great.
Whatever. It's not gonna.
Don't
happen.
even give me a specific release
Right.
date.
Don't
for
even
yet
give me a
because
date.
they're probably going to change it.
Let me know when
Um,
it's out.
When I see the
Let me
trailer.
know
That
that when
day.
the
Okay.
trailer's coming next month and rumors
Right.
are the trailer, it's been shot. Let me know when something is being filmed because
Yeah.
that is what I'm really excited about, or being casted and seeing that.
Right.
Although even casting takes a while because
Even
Acolyte's
that.
been casting for 3 years.
Acolyte's been
Uh,
casting for
Right.
12 years.
But what does feel different about this, and I think the article hits on it, it feels like some of the other creators that they've had, the other directors, writers, whatever, it does feel like with Taika, maybe with Patty Jenkins, someone like a Kevin Feige, it feels like these are people who are very famous and have had a lot of different successes, and they're like, cool, yeah, I'll take a crack at Star Wars. And it's like another thing to put on the
But
resume.
I'm doing this.
Right?
Yeah,
It feels like, because Taika's thing is like, yeah, when
Yeah,
I get
this
to it,
feels
I'll
like
get to
bring
it.
them in because
When I get to it, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
When even though I'm still super excited to see whatever, if a Taika thing happens, what it looks like, because I'm a big fan of Taika Waititi.
Mhm.
But I also like the idea of someone being like, hey, no, we're doing if we're gonna do this, we're doing it right. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Let's get the right writers in. Let's do this, because I do think it's hard to expect a Taika movie to come soon. When you talk to Taika, and his movie was announced 2.5 years ago, and you ask him, he's like, "Well, we haven't exactly written the script yet," and you're like, "Oh, dang," because you've got a lot of other
We
shows
lose
and stuff.
momentum. It happens.
But it also means that Star Wars is getting bumped on your list of things you're to do other things. So it's not that I'm down on him doing a Star Wars movie, or it's announced Kevin Feige is going to have a producing role or something in some movie.
Yep.
Kevin Feige has a lot going on.
Right.
It does feel like it would be just another thing on the resume of Kevin Feige, where even though JJ has done a lot of stuff, I remember, do you remember that picture going around for Force Awakens table read that had
oh man,
all of this does
that
feel,
black and white picture was just chilling.
It was
just
so
like
cool.
goosebumps.
And JJ doing press for it. I'm doing Star Wars. I grew up as a massive Star Wars fan. I can't wait to dive into this.
How did we not realize? Sorry. How did we not realize Mark Hamill had no lines when he's narrating the whole thing? How did we not know that?
I know. How did we
My
not
brain
know?
should have gone, wait, why is he narrating?
Why is he narrating?
How can he narrate?
To be involved at all.
Oh, that's right, because he doesn't say anything.
To just have him there.
Right, how can he narrate?
True.
Could Ray narrate 7? There's no
he
way.
can't narrate it. No. We should have thought. We should have
Oh,
known.
I didn't think of that.
That should have been the biggest
Anyway,
clue.
yeah, okay. Sorry.
No, I mean,
so it was cool.
that was kind of a
JJ
long,
with the table read, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So this definitely feels similar to that, as far as, not that they have a cast and stuff sitting around, but it's like, hey, this is a big thing. This is not just another thing that we're going to do. This is some career defining stuff that if we do this, it's not just, when I find time, I'll do it.
Right.
But
This is
when
what I'm doing
JJ
now.
did it, when Ryan did it, and even the way Ryan still talks about it, if Knives Out hadn't been as massive a success as it is, I'm pretty sure Ryan would probably be doing, or at least be even closer to doing, his next Star Wars movie.
I agree.
Because regardless of what certain people felt about the movie, even though we love the movie,
He's
Kathleen
amazing,
Kennedy
yeah.
loved working with Ryan Johnson. She
And
said it
people
over and over.
People love Ryan Johnson,
And
there's people
He's
that
great. He's
that
great.
still love Ryan Johnson that don't like Last Jedi.
Last Jedi scores have skyrocketed, by the way.
Yeah, they
You
have.
notice that? Episode 7 skyrocketed.
Yep.
So
it's one of those
Right,
things. So
it's Rise of Skywalker's going to go.
yeah.
eventually.
Do you guys have similar? That was me talking a lot. Do
I
you
was
guys have
gonna
similar
say-
feelings about
Here's the thing,
this feeling
right?
different than Taika having a number
Yeah,
of
it
things on
I
his
do,
plate?
and I think the way that these things happen is different now. When Episode 7 was coming, it was, we're making Episode 7, not to us.
Yeah.
We're making a 7. Now, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's like, we're not making movies.
Yeah.
Somebody goes,
Yeah.
I got a great idea for a movie. Oh, what is it? It's this and this and this. That's great. Let's bring
Yep.
it to us and let's see it.
Yeah.
If they do, they do. So the story is now going to behoove the movie rather than
True.
nobody's clamoring for another Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'd like it, but it's not like back then we didn't have Disney Plus. We didn't have all these other
Yeah.
avenues. If you don't
It
have
was
a Star
we're getting
Wars,
more Star Wars or we're not.
if you don't have a Star Wars movie, we don't have it. And 7 was the one. We're gonna finish the last 3. It'd been in making since
Yep.
the beginning. It's happening now. We make it happen. Now it's like there's not a movie that needs to be done. So if the story doesn't come forward, nothing comes up, they're not going to do it. They're going to keep making the shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Taika says, I'm on, and nothing comes of it, or Ryan Johnson's like, well, I'm doing this,
Yeah.
they're not clamoring for a movie. So when something rises like this, it's
And
really good.
it is story driven. They're like, this is a direction we can go.
That's
in.
why I think it's going to go fast, because something has risen.
That's the
It's
thing.
triggered something with everybody, and they're bringing in a lot of people to dial in the details and to make it really special. And I think now that it is a movie, that there's some momentum. It's going to go fast because they don't have one.
Yeah, they're gonna
Clearly on
they
the
have they have a
horizon.
lot of resources and time probably that they can
That's
dive
right.
into it because they've been ready, awaiting
Yeah.
the moment for something that felt right.
That's exactly right.
That's To me, as exciting as it is to hear, it's on a fast track. Like it's got a lot of momentum. It's all full steam ahead. Everything behind this because that means we're getting another Star Wars movie soon. I'm actually more excited for the fact that this must be a great. They think this
They
is
must
a
really
great
believe in
idea
this.
because they've been taking their time saying, hey, if we're gonna do
Yeah.
this,
That's right.
we're being cautious. We don't want to overstep. We don't want. It's a
Yeah.
big decision to go. How do you follow Episode 9? Where do we go next? What is the
Yeah.
next thing? and for
Mando.
Damon Lindelof to come up with this idea or whoever approached
Exactly.
him, and for them to go, this is what we think. Ooh, I like that. What do you think about this? Okay, I need to get in touch with some people. We get together, and then the results of this now coming out months later after this meeting sounds like the meeting went well.
Yeah.
Sounds like the writing meeting was like, we came away from this thing, not saying in 1 weekend they finished the script, but we came away with a plan of what we're doing and also maybe where it could go after the one film.
Right.
Yeah.
Which the article talked about too, is
Could
that
be more.
it's a plan for one, but with the potential of
Branching off.
branching into a second or a third. Or
every movie at the beginning has to have a champion. If there's no champion to drive it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there has to be at least one person at the heart of it, pushing. The more influence that person has, the more likely it is to keep going. And the farther along they get other people. So
Alan Ladd Jr.
There you
For
go.
George.
George Lucas was a champion. He
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
believed in it. So
Yeah.
And Alan Ladd believed in George. He said,
That's
I
right.
couldn't tell what the heck the story was about, but I believed in that
believe in
guy.
you.
And I knew that was it.
Yeah.
that's right.
How
As
does
George calls him Laddie. George
Laddie.
calls him Laddie in the
Funny.
Empire of Dreams.
let me
documentary.
It's awesome.
let me ask you
Laddie
this.
helped us get a
Laddie.
Let me ask you this.
picture made. There's a Laddie.
How does one get in on these secret writing rooms?
I definitely don't think they go straight from podcasting to the big screen. If that's what
I
you're
don't need to
wondering,
be on the big screen.
you have to have
or
more credits.
involved. I just want to how do I listen?
I
into
would
this?
say
I don't think there's any
if-
listening in.
if you
They don't
wait-
live stream it.
If
No,
you
no.
wait
They live stream it
outside,
and we hear bad ideas thrown out. What if it's what if this time there's
Let's focus on Maz Kanata.
First of all,
Make that a
just
trilogy.
spitballing here.
I'm just spitballing.
What if Jar Jar shows up and kills Mace Windu? Just the thought.
Just kills me.
What if we
why?
run
On
with
account
this-
of why? Because he was always rude.
Because he's in his face. and
First of
everything.
all, anybody
if
who
we
just
run-
starts not to
he's all
not to
humorous.
group in anybody, but if as you start giving your comment, your teeth get further and further out, and your lip dips underneath like this, leave them.
All right, we all agree that Wizard of Oz is terrible. but what if Star Wars was in there? Put a saber in Scarecrow's mouth.
I'm saying that the house crushes Palpatine. We just see them shriveled old legs.
But you find out later it's a clone.
What can you offer me? I mean, I killed Snoke. I'll kill you.
I'll kill you. And guess what? I took Palpatine's witch's broom.
Adam,
And I took it all the way down.
Adam, that's
let me stop you
try.
right
All right,
there.
you're fired.
Okay,
You're all
thank-
fired. This is
Let me stop you right there.
Movies-
Get out.
movies.
Get out.
Get out.
Get out.
Adam,
Yeah.
good first try.
Never come
Good
back.
take.
Good question.
Can you close your mouth?
Could you shut it. Shut it.
Just last.
Doctor. Yeah.
That's it.
Bring the helmet.
Please.
Bring the helmet.
Okay, put the helmet back on him.
I love it.
Yeah. No. Right next to bits.
I can't wait for another. If it's
Excited.
that kind of thing and the momentum is going.
2025.
Man.
It will have been 6 years.
Man.
Just takes so much to
It will
keep
have
it
been-
going.
Oh, so last thing before we wrap. When
Yeah.
talking about those projects, I do think, while I think that right now I'd still say I probably would say that Taika's movie does eventually happen, I do think that this movie being a success, that there are some of the
It'll
projects
drive the
announced that
others.
some of those other ones aren't going to happen.
Yeah. or at
I
least
was gonna
not
say
for a
it
while.
could drive others forward. It
Could drive
say,
others forward, too.
Whoa, the
It
market's
could-
big.
it
I wanna
actually
get in
could.
this again.
Honestly, it could lead
You
to
could.
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
Star Wars movie a year.
I'd be scared to make a Star Wars movie.
I'd be.
Why would
terrified.
Ryan want to step into that nest again?
That is,
He's
yeah.
got the Knives Out thing. Let's
Well,
see. Do I want to get vilified?
if you're
and
Ryan, you're
beat to
probably
death?
thinking-
I don't want to make Knives Out.
Beat Tony.
Which would
beat
I
to
rather
death.
choose?
Right,
So
so I
let's
was
see.
thinking beat up
death
in an
or
alley.
praise?
Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody hates me. Knives Out. I'm a genius. I'm gonna go with Knives Out.
And yet, in his defense, Rotten Tomatoes critics loved him
They
in
do.
both.
Now
That's
it's coming
true.
around, but still, it's
That's
for
true.
a while.
But it's
there.
it was the fan.
I don't
Constantly
know.
on
If
Twitter.
He
I'm not
loves.
bad.
The thing is, Ryan Johnson. He loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
If you've heard him talk in any
Oh,
of his
I know.
interviews, he
Yeah.
literally loves Star Wars.
Well, then why did he spit on my childhood? To explain that one to me.
Spit on my
This is our new.
childhood.
This is our new. Explain that one to me. This is our new dumb critique person or dumb critic. Oh yeah, explain that one to me. Explain
We do a whole Star Wars guys podcast as the
I couldn't
This-
explain that.
as dumb critic person.
Oh my goodness.
Star Wars Guide Pocky.
Star's got a podcast.
We're gonna talk about the Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
The other day I walked outside, I stepped on a rake, hit me straight in the forehead. That was better than that Rise and them Skywalker jazz.
That's better.
I hate them rotten potatoes. That rotten potatoes episode.
Stepping on a rake and it hitting you in the face is better than that Rise of Skywalker movie.
Ryan Johnson fella.
Ryan,
Killing Star Wars with his
I'll
dumb
tell you
movies.
though, the worst thing that Ryan Jordan ever did, Ryan Jordan ever did was make them
What's his
Star
name,
Wars
Rain?
movies.
Rain Johnson. Okay, I can hear the sound of clicking across the galaxy as people are leaving our podcast faster than they can think about it.
Oh
We're-
man,
I love it.
Okay.
great.
On that note,
Nate, we're
Wrap it up.
Nate, tell them where they can find it on the
tell me where
internet.
they can find the
Oh,
people.
you can first like and
subscribe.
They found us on the interwebs.
Smash that
notification bell.
This out there on the internets and the tellies. Tell them how they can find us on the outer web.
www.
Webs. Turn that radio station on.
Turn that radio station right on over.
Turn
Okay.
on Star Wars, guys.
Okay. I don't think you need to tell them nobody's listening.
No. They're all gone. Trust
Good
me.
night.
No.
Where we talking?
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you had fun the last 5 minutes. We
I did.
We
I loved
We
it.
had a great time.
It's
No,
fun.
yeah. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that notification
Smash
bell
it.
because it helps. It always helps the
What
channel.
are we talking
Helps us grow. Helps the analytics. So we appreciate you all tuning in. You can find us on Instagram as well. That's at Star Wars Guys Pod. And if you're listening to this back, you want to take Star Wars Guys on the road with you, you can always listen in your car. Audio version. We got our podcast.
Take us on the
posted.
road with you.
Ooh,
We got our podcast
Road
posted
trip.
on all
you'll need the subtitles
Audio.
on for that.
audio
Well, of
platforms. So
All subtitles at the end.
also, yeah. So there you go. Yeah. So we got the podcast on all
All potty.
Ooh.
all podcast platforms. There you go. All podcast platforms. So there you have it. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
Rebellions are built on hope.
And my childhood was destroyed by that Ryan Jordan fella.
Ryan Jordan.
Jordan, we got he
George
doing with
Legan.
Star Wars was some
How
nonsense.
come you busted into LeBlanc there?
It was Ryan Jordan. The game is afoot.
The game was a
The
game was afoot.
That George
I don't like
Luther-
Ron
Ron
Johnson
Johnson.
fellow, and not one bit. Not my Kathy. My Kathy's dead.